Broadcasting from the state capitol, the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. Normally on Fridays, we visit with Chuck DeVore with the Texas Public Policy Foundation, but well, we won't be on the air on Friday, and we're here in Austin. So Chuck DeVore from the Texas Public Policy Foundation coming over, made the short walk over to the state capitol. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I love your mobile studio, going where the action is.
Yeah, we enjoy this. This has been nice.
Yeah, well, don't get too used to it. I mean, you're here in taxpayer-paid offices.
That's true.
Of it as getting a small rebate to what you pay the state.
That's true. Thank you, everybody. It's a very nice office.
That's right.
It's a nice chair.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Saw the new building. New building is getting close to completion for the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Beautiful building.
It is. It's very nice. By the way, no taxpayer dollars in that building.
There you go.
All contributions of Texans who believe in liberty.
Absolutely, and quite a few of those who are out there. Let's start off talking about something that will actually be proposed today, something that I know y'all are a big fan of, and that probably a lot of Texans, once they start hearing about this, will be as well. An amendment that will be filed to phase out the margin tax.
Well, the margin tax, or the business franchise tax, it goes by a few different names, is probably the tax that everybody pays but nobody knows about. And the reason why they don't know about it is that the people who pay the tax directly are the businesses in Texas, small and large businesses. And of course, businesses don't really pay taxes, do they? They simply charge a little bit more for their goods and services that Texans buy, right? And that's where the money comes to pay the tax. Well, Texas has this complex margins tax. And the challenge with it is it costs a lot of money to comply with the tax. And so there's a proposal to cut the rate by 15%. But a couple of senators have an idea to just keep that 15% going for 7 years and just phase out the tax.
And that would be Senator Charles Perry, who's offering that up, and also is it Don Huffines, who's offering that up as well?
Absolutely. So there's going to be a floor amendment. So you're here in the center of the action, Chad, where there's going to be a floor amendment offered on the floor of the Senate just hours from now that says, hey, we'll take that 15% cut to the margin tax and we'll raise it by another 15% every year until the tax goes away. And that tax only raises about $4 billion a year. It's a relatively modest tax in what it raises. But again, the compliance costs are very, very high, where small businesses have to pay their accountants sometimes more money than what they actually owe the state.
Now, you said that this might be a vote in doubt here. Now, the lawmakers we've had on, they talk about getting rid of the franchise tax. Why would this be a vote in doubt?
Well, anytime you try to kill a tax dead, there are going to be some folks who are fearful of changing the status quo, and they wonder, where are we going to get that money? And maybe I should cut some other tax. Let's cut the sales tax. Let's cut property taxes. The thing that we like about the Huffines-Perry amendment that's going to be offered is that it kills the tax dead. And the problem is, when you wound a tax, the tax just gets angry and it comes back at you a few years later and asks to be bigger. Whereas if you kill it dead, it's a lot harder for it to come back to life.
And this will be offered up today. It'll be interesting to see what the debate is over this. Again, you have a lot of lawmakers who they've talked about the franchise tax. Listeners who have been listening over the last 3 days have heard lawmakers talk about the franchise tax, how they're against it. There's still debate about property taxes and sales taxes and everything else, but well, we'll see what happens with the franchise tax.
Well, and here's some more interesting information for you. We have a chief economist at TPPF named Dr. Vance Ginn, PhD economics, and he's run some analysis on what happens if you just eliminate the franchise tax. You're looking at somewhere north of 120,000 additional jobs for Texas, because you're freeing up people to be more efficient. Instead of spending all that time and effort trying to comply with this complex tax that doesn't raise a lot of money, you can spend that money by hiring new people, expanding your operations in Texas, and making Texas more prosperous.
Very good. Of course, we still have a budget to get around. Yesterday, the House came out with their version, but we're still miles apart here on the final budget. Correct?
There's always a lot of horse trading that goes on with the budget process. We are cautiously optimistic, though. We very much like some of the preliminary numbers that we've seen come out of the House under Chairman Otto. They appear to be restraining the growth of spending, keeping it closer to the natural growth of the state as defined by population and inflation. And that means that if they hold to that, it means that Texans are going to get a government more in line with what they can afford, rather than spending a bunch of money and then worrying about, well, how do we raise taxes, or maybe we have a smaller surplus. If they hold the line and continue doing what they're going to do, instead of talking about raising taxes in the future, what we're going to be talking about instead is what taxes can we cut. And that's going to lead to a more prosperous Texas, and we like that direction.
Tell folks a little bit about the Texas Public Policy Foundation.
Well, we're a nonprofit foundation. We're about 26 years old. As you mentioned, we got a brand new sparkling headquarters at 901 Congress Avenue in Austin, Texas. A little over 40 employees, and what we do is we're kind of like a do tank rather than the think tank, right? Mm-hmm. So what we do is we do papers and op-ed pieces, work with lawmakers, but more importantly, we try to see legislation passed and signed into law that expands liberty in the state of Texas. So what we're all about is a more dynamic and prosperous society through the efforts of individuals, through personal responsibility rather than government.
Chuck DeVore, TexasPolicy.com, Texas Public Policy Foundation. As always, appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.